Hey there, Kyle Souza here. Want to talk about this Flash number one 100-page Flash Giant from Walmart. Gonna be going through some of these Walmart books. I actually think they're, by and large, a good deal. Sorry about hitting the table there. Again, I'm Kyle Souza. My blog is thetalkinggeek.com. The Flash is my favorite superhero. I like both Barry Allen and Wally West. And this book has 5 stories in it. It's $5. Two of them are news stories. Usually there's one or two news stories in these books and then a few reprints. The reprints, one is about Flash, and then the other two are about other heroes, Green Arrow and Blue Beetle in specific. So the first story is The Flash in All the Teeth Glittering and Sharp. Barry Allen and Iris West take a vacation to rest and recuperate, but their relaxation is cut short when their cruise ship is attacked by King Shark. Can the fastest man alive save a sinking ship when there's no land in sight, or will he be fish food? So this story was a decent story. It was about one of the introductions that the Flash has to King Shark, right? That's happened multiple times throughout the storyline. There's not necessarily a rehashing of an existing story, but a brand new story. So for this storyline, this continuity, which happens a bit separate, kind of parallel to New 52, or not New 52, sorry, Rebirth is all post Rebirth. Um, Still a good story. I like the artwork in all 5 of these stories, actually. The first one, good artwork, and it gets a little bit into, oh, so spoiler alert, gets a little bit into pollution of the ocean at the end. No positive message to it, but it is a fully encapsulated story, and that's one of the things that I like, is that you have a start, goes all the way through to the end. Doesn't leave you hanging, wraps up nice. Second story is The Flash in Perfect World, which is also a new story. Gorilla Grodd takes control of the Senate and declares war on Canada. Only the Flash is fast enough to stop him, but will he be enthralled by Grodd and his desire to create the perfect world instead? Now, while this it does feature Grodd and Gorilla Wolf on the front, that's actually a reference to the third story. I think that the whole cover is from the third story's book. So, first off, War on Canada. Barry even makes a joke about it at the end. That's a red flag. America's not going to declare war on Canada. But it's a fun premise. It's a fun story. It's a good introduction to Gorilla Grodd. It doesn't really get into his backstory at all. If you are just getting into comics, it's a good introduction to a lot of these characters to pick up these $5 comics. And then we get The Flash in Guerrilla Warfare Part 1, King Grodd. When Gorilla Grodd's army attacks Central City, the Flash must team up with the only people powerful enough to stop him, his own arch enemies. So a lot of times in these stories, you get one of the new stories kind of connected to one of the old stories, and so Flash actually has to team up with his rogues gallery that you see here on the front, Golden Glider, whatnot, and Captain Cold helps him out. Everybody, I guess, helps him out. But basically, Flash is fighting with some bad guys. They knock him out. Then Gorilla's attack from Grodd's army. Then they're after the Flash. Flash gets up. He starts attacking the Gorillas. Bad guys try to jet. Gorillas won't let them, so now they have to take on the Gorillas too. And the bad guys and good guys end up helping each other out against this other bad guy. Not so much of an enemy of my enemy is my friend scenario, so much of a enemy of my enemy is also my enemy, because I'm a bad guy and I can't be friends with anybody type. But it's another good story. It is part of the series, and so I'm hoping in Flash number 2 here it is sequential and comes out with King Grodd Part 2. Then we get Green Arrow in Rebirth. Together again for the first time, the Emerald Archer meets Black Canary, and Dinah Lance throws the hero's world upside down when she questions everything Oliver Queen believes in. So this is the story from Rebirth number 1 for Green Arrow, which I've got somewhere back there. I've read it before. It's a great story. In my opinion, it's a fun story. So the premise for Green Lantern Rebirth is that Oliver Queen is putting the warrior in Social Justice Warrior. And while he is using his money and influence politically and through charities and other to affect socioeconomic conditions for people in Seattle, he's also living in the real world, Seattle, not one of the made-up DC cities. He is still moonlighting as Green Arrow, and I've always liked Green Arrow because while he has always been the rich guy, like Bruce Wayne, he has generally had a focus on helping out the normal person, the poor person, the underdog, the little guy, so to speak. And I just think that's great. I think they did a really good job capturing that in here. And I think the Undergroundman's a cool story. And the fact that this takes place in Seattle, and I've spent some time there, and they bring in some facts with the Seattle fire and the city being built on top of the old city and stuff like that. It's fun touch points to reality, which is a very big departure for DC Comics. Rebirth is a good place if anybody's looking for a place to jump in on the comics because they haven't been reading them. While I do recommend going back to some of the Golden Age stuff, if you're looking for just a place to jump in after any major event, it's a good place. Rebirth would be a good place to start if you want to get on the modern continuity. Blue Beetle and Blue Monday. The mystical Blue Beetle Scarab has chosen its next champion, and young Jamie Reyes isn't sure if his new superpowered identity is a blessing or a curse. Might be Jaime Reyes, but I'm not trying to butcher that. And so this one set in El Paso again, a real city. That's a change that DC made a few years ago with several heroes to put them into the real world. Mixed feelings on that. But I like Jamie. All right, I like Jamie in general. I don't love this story though. This story is not very conclusive. At the end, it's really doesn't take you anywhere. It just kind of introduces you to him, but there's no resolution. There's no direction. It's not my favorite story. Stuff like King Grodd and the Green Arrow story in here, while they are the starts of stories, they do have a bit of an ending to that part of the story, more so the Green Lantern one than the Flash one, because it is King Grodd Part 1. I'm expecting a Part 2, and while the Blue Beetle one is part of the series, I still want it to have, it can have a cliffhanger, but I need it to have gone somewhere more than what it did. He meets Guy Gardner, calls him the Crazy Green Lantern. That's fun. There's some good stuff in the story, but there's not enough, in my opinion. But overall, 5 stories for $5. 2 of them are new. At least 2 of them I really liked. So I think it's well worth it to pick these up. And this one's an older one. This is the Flash number 1. But let me see. This came out in 2019. So, yeah. Probably not going to find this today. Anywho, Kyle Souza, thetalkgeek.com. Please subscribe, like, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to think about this comic, or if you want me to take a look at any other comic in particular, let me know.